The following program is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
Good evening, my people. What's going on? It's your boy eBuck here for yet another episode of the I Am Nighthawk Pod Show, where I talk about the things that I think about where many of you are sleeping, as in literally asleep. And tonight I got a few things to discuss with you. I'm going to start out the show by having a discussion about where we are right now as a country. As you see behind me, if you are watching on the air here, the government shutdown photo that I've created, because of course I want to talk about the current government shutdown. Now, some of you, as I had this discussion, you're saying, it don't matter to me. I'm still doing me. I still can go where I want, do what I want, pay for what I want, and all my money's good and I'm eating. And if you are that person, good for you. Congratulations. But I feel you are being selfish by having that opinion. Also, I feel like you are wrong by having that opinion because it does affect you even still. I shall explain. Now, some people, this government shutdown affects very directly because, as you know, there are people within the government circle of the folks that work for said government that have not been properly paid in over 35 days. Now, they have missed multiple checks, in fact, as we keep the comments going. Shout out to Road to Stardom, who is checking in. Hey, what's going on, Road? Thank you for coming in. Please make sure you check out the end of the show, and particularly if you can, some announcements that do affect you are part of that discussion. All right. So, again, like I said, there are people who have not been paid in over a month now. They have missed multiple checks. Most of us, as in us Americans, are in a scenario to where if we miss out on a paid week of work, it greatly affects our everyday life and household to a large degree. We are literally living check to check, hand to mouth. So even those who have government jobs where you think they will be making good pay, all of that is thrown out the window if they're not making that good pay. And understand, unlike us, where many of us will say, okay, if they ain't paying me, then I'm absolutely not working. Why would I? Why should I? For some of the government workers, that is not an option. They are being told, yes, you are still required to work, despite the fact you have not been paid, and that is what it is. And understand, some of those government employees are the people we know as the armed forces. So as they are protected and serving right now, they are doing it with the understanding that they are possibly not going to get paid anytime soon. Now, granted, some of the government has said, aren't they going to be reimbursed once it's open? An excellent question, Miss Montgomery. I'm going to address that momentarily. But let me tell you that right now, as we speak, there are people in our government that is saying, good, I'm glad it's going this way. Because the longer it go on, the more people we can tell they're not going to get paid. The more people we can say, yeah, we got to let you go because of this and that. And that adds to our case. It shows that, yeah, we are the ones on the good side and they are the ones on the bad side. Long story short, you have to be some type of criminally insane, demonistic individual to sit here and say, look, it's all good. I'm with whatever that happens, happens. Cool. And the part that continues to infuriate me is the fact that our government people, in other words, the Senate, the House of Representatives, they continue to get paid to do nothing, to basically go on TV and lollygag and meander and say, yeah, it's their fault. No, it's their fault. No, it's their fault. Guess what? It's all of y'all's fault, okay? Let me help y'all out. For some of y'all that don't keep up with these things like I do, you do realize we were never supposed to be here. For months and months and months, they knew that these things had not been agreed upon and that they were going to be an issue and that they should have been talking about them and talking them out and working them out before that fateful day came where the folk came and was like, no, we're not doing this. They have supposed to been working on this for damn near the whole year, okay? And now all of a sudden, here we are, not knowing when this foolishness is going to end. Okay, this is the longest the government has ever been shut down in the history of our country. Over 250 plus years, okay? Understand. Let me now address that question, Ms. Montgomery. Thank you for checking into the show. I appreciate you. Are they reimbursed once it's open? In some cases, yes, absolutely. They will be made whole, as they call it. They will be reimbursed for the money they have missed out upon. For some people, however, it has been said that they are not, in fact, it just ended, says Heather Montgomery. They have came to an agreement. Now, understand, we are doing this show live in real time. So Heather is reporting that they have come to an agreement. Now, since we are in real time, and I actually have the football game on, so I do not know what's going on in the news, allow me to do my due diligence for a second here and look into this thing. Now, understand, we're going to interrupt the show as we do this. I apologize for that, but when you make that big announcement, I do want to verify it to be true. Not that I don't believe you, my friend, but in this day and age of fake news and AI generated news and whatnot, I do want to know by a verified source if that is what has happened. Still a discussion to be had, mind you. Let us see. All right. It would appear, according to double sources, that being Fox News and USA Today, that we do have some news in that regard. So allow me to read and verify, in fact, what Ms. Montgomery has said. Lawmakers reach deal to end government shutdown. According to this, lawmakers have reached a deal on Sunday, this according to USA Today, to end the longest ever government shutdown. A group of Senate Democrats struck an agreement with congressional Republicans and the White House. At least 8 Democrats are in favor of the negotiated deal, which includes reversal of federal layoffs, a promised vote in the future on Obamacare subsidies, and fully reopening the government through January 30th. It was the first time in more than a month that congressional Republicans succeeded in persuading a sizable number of their colleagues across the aisle to join them in supporting a shut-off off-ramp. The government isn't reopening yet, according to this report. Lawmakers in Congress still have to have a winding, logical road before they can actually turn the lights back on. A test vote this evening marked arguably the most significant turning point in this rapidly changing set of consequences. So, as of this very moment, the government shutdown is not over just yet. They are agreeing to make it over, but the official vote has not officially gone through just yet. According to this, proposals to reopen the government will start to work their way through the chambers of Congress. Congressional leaders have indicated that the shutdown will be over by the holiday. In other words, sometime within the next 7 to 14 days, they predict this will be over. In the second week of December, the Senate will hold a vote on extending expiring Obamacare subsidies. It's unclear if it will pass. January 30th, another key day in this scenario. The short-term funding measure lawmakers plan to pass this week would turn the government lights back on until January 30th. If more full-year appropriation bills aren't passed by then, the government could shut down again, though only partially. All right, so thank you for that news, Heather. We appreciate you for tuning into the show and letting us know that. So, according to reports, they have found some type of common ground and are looking to end the government shutdown sometime in the next week to 2 weeks. Okay? Again, I still point out we should have never been here. This should have never gone this far. Two, I also must point out, Heather, that this again is only a temporary solution. As the report says, this is only an agreement to make a better agreement later on down the line. So the good news is for most of us that soon you should be able to get your money. For that, I am thankful. However, we have not resolved the real issue. Heather checking back in. I'm not sure what they're fighting about, but I honestly don't think either side are for the people. I completely agree with that statement, Heather. They're all for themselves and what they can get out of it. Because again, as I point out, they did not miss not one day of pay. Yes, some of them have came on TV saying, well, I'm not claiming my paycheck. I'm going to donate it to such and such and such. Which I imagine you could do if you make way more money outside of your job than you do at your job. Because don't you find it interesting that most people in government go into that thing as thousandaires or 10,000 and leave out years later as millionaires, but they only get paid 6 figures or less? Make those things make sense. You mean to tell me you done saved up all your money while you worked in the government and that's how you was able to become a millionaire all of a sudden? There's this term called lobbyists. Look it up. See what they do. We've already had that part of this discussion, okay? Been there, done that. Anywho, government shutdown, still on until it's not, okay? Because in this day and age, you got to remember, there is another thing. Make it make sense, absolutely, as I said. Because, of course, I'm waiting to see the reaction of the leader and what he has to say on the subject. Because you do understand the way our government is set up at this moment, if he does not approve this message, we have gotten nowhere, people. All that was reported means absolutely nothing. If he comes on TV sometime tonight or tomorrow and says, look, I don't like how that's set up, I don't agree with that, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board. Most of his colleagues in the Senate that are Republican will go right along that party line and say, you know what, okay. If DT ain't cool with it, I ain't cool with it. Nah, man. Let's do something else. Now, there's two major points in this thing. Understand that I am glad that they have worked it out to that degree because this is the worst possible time of year to have this government shut down. Because as you know, many of us, well, not us, but many of you celebrate the holidays, okay? That being Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And between those three holidays, it has been reported by a couple outlets that over $1 trillion, you heard what I said, 1 trillion with a T, will be spent by us Americans in the next 3 months alone. $1 trillion. of money that we all don't have. Because remember, as a country, not even counting our country's debt, as individuals, we have accrued over $1 trillion in credit card debt alone. Thank God I don't owe that much of my doggone self, but I do owe a nice little bit. And I'm not alone. Remember, actual minimum income of a person in the United States is somewhere around $58,000. Are you making that? I'm not making that much. Somewhere around there, but I ain't there. Are you making that much? Remember, the 1%, the 2%ers, those are the people that make $250,000 a year or more, okay? How much of the country does that represent? How much of what they do affect what we do? Think about all of that, okay? Because that's going to tie into my next subject about the village when we get there in a minute. But again, if the reports are true, and like I said, multiple people have reported it now. CNN also has reported that this deal has gone or is going to go into place. It only resolves this issue for basically another 60 to 90 days. All we have done is kick the can down the road. Because in the end, the Obamacare situation that the Democrats are fighting for on their end only resolved for the moment. And the big beautiful bill still going into effect down the line. And the Republicans still more or less get what they want out the deal. My BFF checking in. What up, Lee? She is saying that's overall, but what about the Black American spending power, which accounts for several billions of dollars? Yes. Understand, if we really wanted to put the screws to corporate America, just us people of color. So I'm going to add our brown people as well into that. So just the African Americans and the Latinos, the Hispanics. That accounts for over 100 million people in this country. If we as a collective, even if the majority of us, between the 45 million African Americans and the 70 plus million Latino Americans, say, you know what? I'm not buying stuff from the following places. Boom, 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 boom. Particularly here during the holidays. Do you know what effect that would not only have on the economy, but basically any of those outlets? Understand, Walmart is one of the largest employers on the planet. Amazon also one of the largest employers on the planet. If we just boycotted those two things alone, as in we bought absolutely positively nothing from either one of them for just these 3 months, it would negatively affect them to the point where several locations would have to shut it down. But see, my friend, here's where the problem lies. 60% of this country are people of non-color, Caucasian, if you will, or whatever appropriate non-offensive term you would like to use. When you talk about Walmart and you talk about Amazon in particular, they employ more people that are in the minority than damn near any other corporations in this country. In other words, over half of the staffs of Walmart and Amazon are probably people that look like myself, or basically just people of color in general, okay? So in boycotting those places, who do you think is affected the most by that? It's not necessarily the pockets of Jeff Bezos or the Walmarts, of which several Walmart sons and daughters are billionaires, and Jeff Bezos is halfway to $1 trillion himself, even after paying out over 200-something billion to his ex-wife. Okay? Will it hurt their pockets? Yeah. Will it hurt the country a little bit? But who would it hurt the most? Probably us. Probably us. We are not set up to win in this thing, okay? In the end, this government shutdown, there were no winners. Let's be very clear. Even though tomorrow the talking heads and pundits on CNN and Fox News, et cetera, will be like, yeah, we got them. Or yeah, we won. Or yeah, nobody won. Okay, understand. Like I said, you have affected people's pockets to a point that even if you get paid all your money tomorrow from what did not get paid to you, it still affected what you did in the interim. Because perhaps you had to borrow some money from your bank. You got to pay them back now with interest. Perhaps you had to borrow some money from people. You got to pay them back. Perhaps you still got to catch up with this, and that. So that even when you get all your money, you hit up, okay? Now, for those of you who are on SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition I forgot what the A stood for. My bad. Assistance Program. Yeah, there we go. That should mean that sometime this week, despite efforts to the contrary, you should be getting all your benefits. That is very important for those of you who have families with multiple individuals, okay? Understand how much them not getting fed through those benefits would affect you. Not to mention the fact that we're headed toward the holidays. I'm glad now that a lot of people can look forward to Thanksgiving, as several people were concerned about that. People in my own circle, my village, were concerned about that. I am glad for you guys' sake that now you will be able to obtain the food necessary to have a thankful holiday indeed. Because truthfully, that should not have been part of the scenario in the first place. It should have never affected that, okay? This government shutdown should not have had anything to do with you not eating. 40 plus million people not getting their food benefits as they have every single month, okay? Should not affect Social Security or Medicaid or any of that. Ever, 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 ever. But yet it did. Now, again, like I said, until it actually happens, in my mind, it ain't happened, and it's still an issue. And because even when that's somewhat resolved, we still have to wonder if this time, January 30th, we still find ourselves having to worry about this again. So my advice to y'all would be, if you could put up a little bit, save a little extra money after the holiday for some food and stuff, you probably might want to do that in case we find ourselves here again, because it could very well happen again. Anyway, that's that subject. When we come back, I want to talk about my next topic, the village, and how we do indeed depend on our village as adults and children and so on and so forth, and the village does still exist. So that is my main topic tonight, the village. We will have that discussion when we come back. This is I Am Nighthawk. I'm your host, eBuck. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Thank you also for your commentary. I appreciate that as well. We'll be back after these words from my Nighthawk Network. Nighthawk Network, our voices for our people. Nighthawk Network presents Pastor Sean Love. Pastor Sean Love, devoted father and husband, a residing pastor at the River Rouge Bible Assembly in River Rouge, Michigan. Join him as he gives us messages from God's Word, Bible study, and encouragement. You can find him on YouTube under Sean Love.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. It's another glorious day, my tea sippers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comfort together because it's time to dish tea. And you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meat.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat.
Darling.
What's going on, good people? Your boy E-Buck is back. This is the I Am Nighthawk Pod Show. We were talking about government shutdown. Another final comment on that. Talking about the boycott. See what we did to Target and their stock, and how does something that never helped us hurt us when we decide to leave it. And yeah, again, to a degree, it makes sense, and it is a plausible ideology. It has worked in the past, boycotting things. Think about the bus boycott, Alabama back in the day, that basically hurt that city government to the point to where they had to do and be different. Boycott does work if properly situated, but in the same token, depending on what it is and how it can also hurt the people that it's intended to help. That is what I'm saying on that. Now, because of that, we have situations where we have to be mindful and rely on these people that we call the village. Keep in mind, there's that saying. Y'all remember that old saying? It takes a village to raise a child. I also would agree that it takes that village also to help raise an adult as well. I've had that discussion in a couple folks in recent days, so I want to talk about it here on the air. The village, does it still exist? I think it does. I shall explain to you why. Now, understand, thus people of a particular age, we know the village to be different now than it was back then. Back then, when we think of the village, we think of all the people that used to look out for us and keep us safe and keep us informed and keep us focused on our goals and dreams and such. So the village not only included our parents, it included our extended family, our sisters, our brothers, our cousins, our uncles, our aunts, grandparents. It also included our neighborhood, people next door, people down the street from us. It included the people we went to school with, our teachers, our uh, basically our people we went to church with, so on and so forth. Those people made up the village as we knew it back then. So that usually, if you were in a situation where you were in a bind for whatever reason, and they were around, they made sure, okay, leave that kid alone, or don't do that, or we gonna help you, or come in here, so on and so forth. They knew your family was struggling, and people down the street throw a rent party, and it was all type of great things that people in our village used to do for one another back in the day. That does not appear to happen anymore in some cases. Now, again, remember, this is subjective. Again, I don't know if Miss Montgomery is still watching, but I actually seen her village in action this week through her Facebook post. One of her oldest child, not to put all your business out there, moved into her own place this week. And there are several of her siblings and others who have helped her to get her house together, which I found was awesome. Just a beautiful thing that her village came together to help out one of the villagers. That was cool. But yeah, basically, from knowing what I know of your family, they've been through some things, but they're also very much a village in and of themselves. I like how the younger kids involve themselves with the older kids, and all the older kids and young kids always seem to have different little bonds with each other. It's really cool. I like that about your family. Um, there are people who still have the village concept, okay, and do look out for one another. I promise you, on everything I love, that I would not be here today, healthy, wealthy, well, not wealthy, but healthy and a good mental space if not for my personal village. People like some of the folks who tuned in, some people that chimed in, that have helped me through what has been at times very difficult for me. They don't always have to help in ways that are financial or ways that are physical. Sometimes they help me through their concern, through their thoughts and prayers, through just acknowledging that I exist in a world where they exist. Those things have helped me as an adult through my village. I think many of us have that support system as well, where there are people in our circle that look out for us in those ways. And they are part of the village, as you see in my background. There was a time where you'd be like, okay, I don't know what I should do. And you could go to said individuals, ABC, and say, this is what's going on. What should I do? And based on whoever they were, they'd be like, okay, well, you can get help from this person, that person, this person, or I can help you with this, that, and this. Okay, we got another comment here. Road checking back in. The village does still exist, but some people are afraid to ask for help. Well, I can relate to that. And funny you should mention that because, again, Road, we're going to have that discussion a little bit later in the show as well. About a couple years ago this time, for those of you familiar with the show, I came on the air reluctantly asking for some big time help, okay? Because I was maybe days away from losing not only my livelihood as a work, but also my household. Things had got down to bare minimum, big time bad, okay? I was hurting physically and mentally. Because even through all of that, I did not know at the time how very sick I was in trying to deal with all of that. I mean, literally physically sick. So at that moment, I came on the air and asked if anybody could help, would they help? And several people reached out from my village and helped me through that crisis. And I'm so very thankful every day for them. I have been able to return some of the kindness to some of them. There are still others that I'm still working on those efforts. I promise you I am. Because I cannot allow that to go unreported or unnoticed or unthought about. It basically would haunt my dreams if I did. So again, I thank you for all your efforts and helping to get me over that hump. And even though I am still struggling now, the struggle is less because of the efforts of some of you. And I thank you very much for that. Now, when we talk about the village, you got to understand, some of us have lost our concept of village because we no longer care as we did as people. And I really want to discuss the people of the village, of my village, when I had that discussion, okay? We as African Americans, I don't think, look at the world the same as we did back then. I felt like in those earlier days, we were coming off of civil rights and all of that. And a lot of us still felt like all we got is us. It's us against the world. But as some of us started to become part of society and get dealt with in ways where we were able to come up and be somebody and make money and whatnot, we were more concerned at that point about just keeping what we got as opposed to sharing the wealth with the village and the others. As long as I had my diamond rope and my fancy car and my house I ain't worried about nobody else. It's all about me up in here. Because I'm all I got. And when we started to have that mentality about it, that is when this shift in the village and how we move started to change, I feel. And I've been alive long enough to see it from both standpoints, okay? Keep in mind, I grew up in a society where corporal punishment was not viewed as it is now. It is viewed as abusive and abuse. Even verbally, it's seen as abusive. But yet, I look at the people that grew up during those times and we view the world differently than some of our younger counterparts in that way. There are people that will say, well, yeah, them 2 or 3 times I got a whooping, that triggered me. I felt like I was done wrong because of that. And I ain't never been the same. But what you may have seen as a corrective form of action, we dealt with on a way worse scale, okay? There are literally still marks on my body from being corrected, if you want to call it that, as a child, okay? It could definitely be seen as abusive in today's 2025 definition. But was it dealt with out of love? To a greater extent, maybe. Did it go too far at times? Probably. But it was the village saying that, okay, I can't allow you to get in a place where you are going to do something that's going to affect your life greater than what I'm doing right now. This has to be a physical reminder to let you know that you should not find yourself in a place where you are going to do this again. I want you to think about this as a warning to you to do better. Okay, because in the ideal world, the village should be for the betterment of all, okay? And certain circles, that is the case. Now understand, when we look at these things from a just our kinfolk's perspective, we got to remember we are not the only people walking this earth, okay? Other people do things different. We have these discussions here in Detroit where we are a multicultural city, where it's not just black people that live here. There are white people that live here. There are Italian people. There are Asian people. There are Hispanic people. There are Arabic people that all live in the confines of the city and the surrounding suburbs. And depending on who you are or where you are or who's part of that particular circle, they do things differently. Their village move differently. And you notice, you see that, okay, they good because they got each other and they work together as people to get stuff done. But we on this hand in this neighborhood, we all about self. We don't do nothing to help the way we could, okay? It used to be a time. Okay, hold on. We got Coach V checking in. What's up, Coach? We having a discussion on the village here. It used to be a time you could go to your neighbor and be like, okay, I kind of need help with this, and this. Can you help me out? Yeah, I'm kind of older right now. You got a kid that can help cut the lawn for me, or help paint the fence, or something like that. And in certain communities, there are still people that do that, where you can do that. But in other parts, it's like, nah, handle your own business. Leave me be. I'm good on that. When we talk about the village, we talk about how you can go on your Facebook page and type in, okay, you know somebody that paint, you know somebody that do the lawn, you know somebody that assembles Christmas tree, whatever the case may be. And somebody will chime in, yeah, my cousin do that, or yeah, my brother does that, or yeah, the dude down the street do that. Check out such and such and such. That's part of the village right there, y'all. Understand, when I came up with the concept of my Nighthawk Network, it was because as a person who likes to help, I wanted to set up a network, a literal network of people that are able to help each other with things. And part of that spirit is still very much the essence of said network. But also, we live in a society where some people only help when it benefits them in some way, shape, or form. They don't do things out of the goodness of their heart. And it's unfortunate. I am not as helpful as I have been in the past because I'm not as able to be, unfortunately, when it comes to certain things. But in other ways, I still am very helpful, in fact. But what concerns me is that in being helpful in that way, some people look to take advantage of your kindness. And I want people to know out here in my audience, I am not a person looking to take advantage of your kindness. That is not how I get in. That is not my village concept. But I know, unfortunately, there are people who do feel that way. I wish I could just wave a wand and be like, okay, everybody that helped me, here's all the help you gave me back tenfold. Because you may need it worse than I do right now, for all I know. But unfortunately, I don't have that power. All I can do is what I can do as I can do it. Understand, I cannot fully survive without some help from my village because of how my life is set up right now, where I'm still basically week to week and check to check and day to day, where I'm still going through health issues, where I may wake up one day and feel fine and good, but then wake up a couple days later and start out that way, but by the end of the day be so very, very tired because of my conditions that I barely make it to bed without taking my clothes off. I've literally came in the house and sat in this chair that's close to the door at the moment and fell asleep. Not even able to make it to my bed because I was just that freaking tired. That is what I deal with in my daily life, but still feel it important to be part of my village when possible. And still know that even though I can still do better as a villager. And hopefully you feel that way as well as part of your village. Because we are all part of somebody's village, if you really think about it. And we all should be striving to do better so we all could be better. So even though, yeah, this government shutdown might be coming close to a temporary end, there are still people out here that's going to need our help. Remember the holiday season, there are still people out here that was homeless before the government shut down. They're going to be homeless afterwards. There are people out here that was hungry before the government shut down. They're going to be hungry afterwards. Be nice that, okay, once you get your benefits and whatnot and be made whole, okay, I did get some extra food and stuff during that because I didn't know what my situation was. But now that I had this extra food, let me find somebody that really needs it even more so to help out with. That is what I would like to see people do in these situations. That would be a great thing to do for your village. But anyway, yes, the village still exists. We just have to make it count in terms of its existence, okay? Yeah, we can't go back and do certain things certain ways anymore because of how the world has changed and how it's set up. But we still could be a part of somebody's village and still should be, in fact. Okay, now on to the next subjects at hand. Okay, I do, my friends, have some announcements to make before I end this week's show. This I Am Nighthawk Pod show. And I will probably start out with the biggest announcement first. So allow me to play around with my set again. I want to go to this set right here. Okay, we'll talk about that background in a moment. But right now, I need to make a big announcement. Not a huge one for many of you, but definitely a big one for me. This is the I Am Nighthawk Pod Show. I have done 3 seasons of said show, some 40 to 50 episodes at least. I've done probably over a couple hundred episodes of Get Off My Lawn, which I'm probably still known more for so than this show. I felt there was a change that needed to be made from the concept of Get Off My Lawn to I Am Nighthawk because I felt most of what I talked about during that time of the Get Off My Lawn was basically related to people and what we were going through during the pandemic and whatnot. I wanted to make a change and a transition through that. I talk about more things that I think about now outside of that. But honestly, as I look at the numbers, even tonight, though several of you did tune in early and check in early to see the show, I appreciate you. We did get more commentary than I've been getting of late, but ultimately, I am not getting the type of feedback or viewership that I was hoping for. Never did I expect this to be a pod show where thousands of people checked in. I didn't expect that. I honestly said when I first started doing a pod that if I got basically 75 to 150 people tune in every time, that would be good for me. In the last year or so of I Am Nighthawk, we have not averaged that at all. I think the most I've seen is probably close to 100 on one episode. Strangely, I did have an episode where I had over 1,000 people tune in. I still don't quite understand what happened that particular evening, but it happened. Long story short, I feel like the message that I'm trying to get out here, the things that I'm talking about on the air, people just not really feeling like that. So if this was a true network and this was like a ABC or NBC or whatnot, and we talk about the ratings and sponsorship and whatnot, I think it would be clear what to do. And in my mind, it is clear. So I am announcing that this will be one of the last episodes of the I Am Nighthawk Pod Show. I will be shutting down the show for good by the end of the year. Because honestly, I think it's time to move on to other things that I got going. And truthfully, I feel like I've talked about most of what's on my mind in regards to some of the stuff I think about. And I think some of you get it, but a lot of you don't. You just don't care. It just don't matter. I've done other pods where there has been more people involved. I mean, even with the other people in my Nighthawk network, out of all the shows that I do or co-produce throughout the week, this show, the show that basically started it all, is the show that gets the least ratings. No disrespect to any of my partners in the Nighthawk network. I am very happy with what I'm doing for you guys and will continue to do so. None of your shows will be affected by this decision. I am still producing and co-producing and looking forward to doing several episodes of all of you guys' show and doing what I can to help continue to grow what you guys got going. But right now, for where I'm sitting, I'm just basically spinning my wheels on this thing. It has basically played itself out. So there will be probably about another 3 or 4 episodes, maybe. I Am Nighthawk, but after that, I am done. No more I Am Nighthawk. We will move on. Now we'll dig a little deeper into why I feel that is good for me and good in general. But we'll talk about that on a later episode. I actually want to get into a couple of the other things I got going. Okay, now, as you know, one of the things that I've been working on is my Labor of Love project, which is Nighthawk Network Radio. For those of you who tuned in the last year or so, up until the last couple months, I appreciate you and thank you. But I know you've wondered, okay, what has happened to the network? What happened to the radio station? Is it ever coming back on? The answer to that hopefully is yes. But as my good friend Ro pointed out earlier in the show with this comment, the village still exists, but some people are afraid to ask for help. I, in the past, have needed help with stuff and oftentimes have not spoke upon it. Okay? And setting things back up to get my radio station back on the air, right now, honestly, I need some help. Now, the good news is someone has offered me help later on down the line. In other words, when I first started the radio station, it was with conjunction with a young man who was going to help fund the station with me for at least a year as we worked on sponsorship and whatnot and so forth. But due to circumstances beyond his control, he was not able to do that the first couple months. So I found myself taking the brunt of that. Now, keep in mind, to fund a internet radio station is not a huge cost in this day and age, but it do cost a few dollars, okay? And because I was going through other stuff with other things, particularly my medications and whatnot, I didn't have them few dollars. Brother got to eat. Brother got to take his medicine. Brother got to pay for his medicine. As a result, yeah, had to shut the station down, okay? Long story short. Now, I would like to get it back on. I do have some money coming toward that, okay? So that I actually am halfway to making that happen. But up until January, I got to figure some things out. Now, I think next month we good. But this month, I would like to have the station back on. In order to do that, I am going to ask for the help of you, my audience. Now, here is what I'm going to do, okay? First of all, let me tell you, what do I need to make this happen? It's actually not a large amount of money. How much money we talking? Let me show you. This is what I need to put the show back on, the radio station back on. I need exactly $30, okay? $30. So in this next few minutes, we're going to do a little marathon or telethon or whatever you want to call that thing, okay? We need $30 to get Nighthawk Network Radio back on the air. Nighthawk Network Radio, for those of you not familiar, is my radio station where I play primarily R&B music. Okay? It's primarily R&B music from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. But I also play different sets throughout the week, which includes 80s music, country music, of course, gospel music, and I will be soon adding AI created music, which we'll talk about in a moment, as well as independent artist music. Okay, but in order to do that, I need to get the station back on the air. That station right there. And in order to do that, I need the price of $30. Now, here's the thing, good people. We just discussed through this whole show how people are struggling right now due to government shutdown and whatnot. Again, should be resolved soon, but what we are looking to do, good people, in order to get us back on the air, is to get this $30. Now, I don't want to just add for $30 and you get nothing out of the deal. So I'm offering you a deal, a compromise, some good love, if you will. Here's what we're doing, okay? First of all, you're saying, well, how can I get some of that money to me? Well, it's simple. We know this thing known as the Cash App, right? I will put my Cash App ID here on the air, okay? My Cash App is Uncle E88. Uncle E88, okay? That is my Cash App. You see that there? Uncle E88. That is my Cash App. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, we need $30 exactly. If we get said $30, I can have my station back on the air within 24 hours time. And we'll be back rolling 24 hours a day. Now, again, because it's not a big amount of money, but it is a little money, and people may not have said money, what I'm asking is this. If you have $1, if you have $5, at 20, 9, 7, whatever amount you have, okay? If we can combine our efforts to get that $30 to me, I can put my radio station back on the air. Now, understand, this, my friends, first of all, is a loan. Because within 3 weeks' time, I can have that $30 again. It's just in order to do what I need to do, I wants to get it done in a timely fashion. Okay? So, if you are the person who actually loans or donates, supports the station for this month with all the $30, not only will I pay you back your $30, I will pay you an additional $20. I can do that because the person that is sponsoring the station is going to overcompensate me at that point to do so, understanding that this is a situation they currently cannot provide said $30. So between them and myself, I will make your $30 $50 if you are the one person that donates all 30. Now, assuming that does not happen, here's the thing. We have different levels to this thing. All right. If you are a person that can just contribute $1 of the $30 to my Cash App to get the station back on, again, the Cash App is that Uncle E88. That is my Cash App. Let me put that on there so we understand that. Okay, if you contribute just $1, what will happen is when the station is back on, we will make sure that you 4 times a day throughout the day for the next 30 days get a shout out as a station sponsor. And you will be allowed the ability to record a small message of up to 15 to 20 seconds that will play on the air 4 times a day. In other words, you can be like, this is so-and-so from so-and-so. Thank you for listening to the I Am Nighthawk, not the I Am, the Nighthawk Network Radio. And that will be part of your compensation, okay? For those of you who contribute $1 to the cause, all right? Now, if you contribute $5 to the cause of getting the station back on the air, or this $30 we are looking for to get Nighthawk Network Radio back on the air, you contribute $5. You will not only get the shout out 4 times a day for the next 30 days, but you will also get a special playlist where you can give me 5 of your favorite songs to play on the air, and we will play those 5 songs for you every day. For the next 30 days, we will let you know when that will air every day, so you can tune in to your 5 favorite songs, and you will also get your shout out for your special playlist on the air. So again, if you contribute 5 or more dollars of that $30, we will do that for you. If you contribute $10 of that $30, you will get a 2-hour block where you can dictate what music we play on the air on both Tuesday and Thursday for the next month. In other words, it will be your show. This is the so-and-so show because you've donated $10 or more. and we will play whatever songs you would like. And it can be any type of music, okay? As long as they allow us to play it on the internet radio station. And keep in mind, they do allow us to play some things with profane language and all that. So if you want it to be gangster rap, it could be that. If you want it to be gospel, it could be that. If you want it to be metal music, whatever you want for them 30 days on Tuesday and Thursday, let's just say from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. That will be your show for that next 4 weeks. If you contribute $10 or more. And again, I say if you contribute $30, as in the whole enchilada, we will compensate you for early vet within 30 days with an additional $20, and you will get everything that I named prior to what I just said. So you will get your shout outs, you will get to make your playlist, you will get control of the station on Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 4, and you will get early the minute back plus 20. So however anybody could do this, by all means, help a brother out. So we can get Nighthawk Network Radio back on the air. Now it appears somebody has already contributed to the cause. Well, all right. Shout out to you, Coach Vincent. Thank you, sir. Yes, you did. And I appreciate you. So now, as marathon continues, we do not need $30. We now only need $20. And yes, by all means, Coach B, because you are a $10 precipitant, you are going to get your own 2-hour show on Tuesday and Thursday to play whatever music you would like for us to play on the air. So get your playlist together, my brother. And also, we will have you make your shout out so we could have you play that on the air as well. Because you have your team, I think that would be excellent for you to use your 20 seconds to shout out your team and advertise for them as well. Because I know you got some things that you guys as the Midwestern Bulldogs are doing. Again, shout out to Coach B. Check out his show, Straight Sports Talk with Coach B, on Fridays at 8 p.m. I appreciate you, my brother. So now we only need $20. $20 to get back on the air. So whether you see this now in real time or if you see this later on, and you can contribute $1 to that $20 or $5 or the whole other 20, we would very much appreciate it. Okay? Because I know you, the village, y'all got my back, and I appreciate you. So hopefully we can get that $20 sometime in the next 48 to 72 hours. And we can be back on the air before the end of the week. That would be awesome. I would love that. And we will get to it. Now, again, I did mention that we are going to be playing some new music on the air. We're going to play music from independent artists. Among those people are people who have been discovered by my good friend Road to Stardom. Understand that the new and improved Nighthawk Network Radio will not only have 1 but 2 program directors. As eBuck will do most of the stuff, but also we have my good friend Road to Stardom, Miss Nika Simmons, who is going to program part of the station and will be taking over the station on Wednesdays every week. So for that 24-hour block, Road to Stardom Radio will be back on the air as it was for many years over there at Blog Talk Radio. So she has the right and privilege to play whatever she would like for those 24 hours every Wednesday, including some of her past interviews, music from independent artists she has interviewed in the past. We will also be playing on the station AI-generated music. Now, you know, we've talked about that a couple weeks ago that I have in this space. Hold on, good people. it appears somebody else has now contributed. Thank you, my friend, for your $2. All right. We are now down to $18, people. $18 to get Nighthawk Network Radio back on the air. Might even happen before we leave the show tonight. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? $18 left to get us back on air. Now, like I said, we are doing AI generated music on my platform when we get back on. That, of course, includes the music that I have been working on. Now, as you guys know, I've been working on AI generated music, most of it using my lyrics, but the platforms that I'm using to create the music and instruments and all of that good stuff. We have now completed one of my project ebook projects for music. It is a jazz album that I have entitled, good friends, as you see the jazz lounge back behind me, I have entitled said album the following. Time for the big reveal. Boom! A Jazz Cafe in Oblivica. A Jazz Cafe in Oblivica. Now, I know you're saying, what in the Blue Smurf is Oblivica? Now, understand, get the station back on. There's going to be a listening session / show where I basically go through all of the songs and the inspiration behind them and the words and all that, and I explain the whole concept of Oblivica, as several of the other albums in Project ebook will be based upon different aspects of Oblivica. Because we do plan on doing a country album that will be called The Back Streets of Oblivica. We are doing a church that is going to be, well, basically a gospel album that is called The Church of Oblivica. We are going to do The World of Oblivica, which will be different genres of music in an album. And we'll also be doing an R&B album called The Soul of Oblivica. And hopefully we will get those done close to the end of the year. We even are going to do a small EP of Christmas music. So there will be Christmas in Oblivica as well. So again, I will explain the Oblivica concept when we get the station back on. Okay, apparently we got something else. Hold on. Wait a minute. Seriously? Hold on, good people. Let me figure this thing out. It looks like somebody else may have contributed to the cause. I'm trying to figure out. Give me a second. Yes, Coach Vincent has come through again with another donation. Coach, I see you, bro. I see you working. Now, thanks to that donation, we are now down to a mere $8. We now need just $8 to get back on the air. We get that $8. We could be back on the air by this time tomorrow night, if not a few hours before. Okay? And thanks to the other person that's helping me with the other half of the scenario. You know who you are. You asked not to be named. I shall respect your anonymity, but I appreciate you all the same. And I will have the rest, and we'll be back on the air after we get this $8. Now, again, because Coach has contributed the majority of this himself, you, my friend, will get your show on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4 for the next 30 days. Now, You're going to have to let me know what kind of music you want and who you want to hear and all of that. We could have that discussion later on. But it's on you, and you will be getting 8 shout-outs throughout the day for the next 30 days on the air. Since you contributed twice, it's only right to do that. And we will let you know what times that come on the air so you can have that played. Coach says, you have done a lot for me, and I appreciate that, my friend. I very much do. You are, in turn, repaying my kindness with kindness of your own. I thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your efforts. So, again, y'all, we need just $8. And my Cash App is that. And also, thank you, Joe, for your $2. Again, you will get your shout out as well. Absolutely. Because every little bit counts in this scenario right now, okay? Again, that is the Cash App. $ Uncle E 88. So if you have that $8 we are looking for, and you can send it this way, we appreciate you. And we will be back on the air to let you know that it has happened. You run it. Just shout out to Midwestern Bulldogs, okay? Not only will we do that, we will make it the Midwestern Bulldogs show from 2 to 4 on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the next 30 days. Sponsored by the Midwestern Bulldogs and Coach Vincent. How about that? I like that. So, yeah, actually talk to your fellas. See what type of music they want to hear for them 2 hours. Perhaps y'all can use that as workout music and whatnot in them 2 hours. Okay, so R&B, hip-hop, soul, whatever it is, we got you for them 30 days. Because you got to get what you paid for, my brother. I insist that is the case. And Joe, I already know what you want to hear. We going to play a little something for you as well. But again, y'all, we are looking to get that $8. But back to my announcement. Like I said, we are doing my album. I am looking to download it to YouTube and perhaps Spotify sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. It is called a Jazz Cafe in Oblivica. And I'm going to give you all a little preview. If you have not been on my Facebook page to hear said preview of one of the songs from that album as we about to head on out. Let me play you a little bit of this song before we go. This is Indigo Blue from the album Jazz Cafe in Oblivica. That is the single that I released. I even have a picture for that single, I do believe. Yes, there it is. Check out some of the song Indigo Blue from my new album, Jazz Cafe in Oblivica.
The city sleeps in velvet shades. The streetlights hum.
By the way, Facebook, this is my song. I made it. I'm allowed to play it.
A feeling I've never known. The window pane, a silver square, has caught a sapphire in the air. Oh, this blue moonlight serenade, a perfect memory being made, painting shadows cool and deep for us to find, for us to keep underneath this indigo night. Everything just feels so right. Your silhouette against the glass, a fleeting moment meant to last. You trace a pattern on the frost, a world away, and we are lost. No need for words, no need to speak. The answer's what our spirits seek.
All right, y'all. That was Indigo Blue from my album Jazz Cafe and Oblivica, to be soon released to the public through YouTube or Spotify, something to that effect. We are actually going to work on that right after we get off the air. So, again, thank y'all all for tuning in on one of these last episodes of I Am Nighthawk. We appreciate you. Thank you again to Miss Heather Montgomery for letting us know about the situation with the government. Hopefully they do go through on that and get everybody back online so they can get their money and have a good holiday. And hopefully all of you do the same. So until next week, when I come on to talk about whatever's on my mind at that point, I appreciate you and I thank you. And until next time, good people, we is up out of here. Thanks also, Coach V, for your contributions to the marathon and getting us back on the air. And remember, we just need $8 more, y'all. So if you tune in later on and you see it in your heart to help out with that $8 or $2 of $8, however it work out, that is the Cash App, Uncle E88 Cash App. And we will be back on the air sooner than later. I pray that is the case. All right, y'all. Until next time. Hold on. Find them closing credits, people. And we could be up out of here. All right. For whatever reason, I can't find my closing credits this week. All right, we ain't gonna trip. We just gonna be out.